Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Welcome to the Week 15 on DraftKings Lineup Builder Show. This is the show where I take about 45 minutes to an hour. I answer questions from all of my subscribers on Twitch in the chat. They ask me questions about things strategy-wise for this weekend slate, and there's a lot to go over for this weekend slate because, as Peter Overzet likes to say, this slate has been flipped on its head, and then it got flipped over again, back on its feet, and then it got flipped over a third time, and now it's back on its head. So here we are. We got a lot of news to talk about. I'm going to go over that first. I'm going to see how it affected the Vegas totals, and then we're going to bring in the chat, and they're going to ask me all the questions that they have. We like to keep it at like 30,000 feet. We're approaching our landing, but, you know, we're putting our trade tables up. We're putting our seat backs in their upright and locked position, but we're not exactly coming in for landing yet. We do that on the Anti-Tinkercast on Sunday mornings, 45 minutes before lock, live on twitch.tv/Al_smizzle. Drop on over there, give me a follow. There's a link down below in the description, as well as links to all my other socials, all the discounts that you can get, the sites that have partnered with our stream. Go click on the things, you know, show some support. I appreciate you guys very much. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, leave a reply, and I'll try to answer a bunch of the replies. I try to a lot, but like it's a lot. I try to get to as many of them as I can, at least with a thank you, or if there's a compelling discussion going on, I try to drop in where I can. So thank you guys for being so active on the channel. Jump into our Discord, a link for that down below as well. And if you wanted to get access to the VIP subscriber only rooms, you can hit the join button, become a channel member. You get a nice little VIP badge next to your name in the replies. You get some fantastic emotes. And once you link your Discord to YouTube, and we have our mods that can help you. There's an instructions folder in Discord. If you are a channel member, and as long as you're a channel member, you'll have access to the VIP rooms in our Discord channel. And if you're trying to make yourself a better daily fantasy NFL, or with NBA season coming, you want to have people to bounce ideas off of for lineups or strategy or whatever else, we have rooms for that as well. There are free channels. If you just want to kind of come and hang out, we have those too. So drop into Discord and we'll get to know you over there. So let's take a look first at the biggest piece of news. One, Mr. Drew Brees is now playing on this slate, and he is the starting quarterback for those New Orleans Saints playing at home in the Dome, and Taysom Hill is no longer the starter. One of my three favorite quarterbacks on this slate was Taysom Hill because of the floor that he brought with his rushing yards, the rushing touchdown upside, the fact that he did challenge for 300 yards each of the last 2 weeks. He is now not the starter, and Drew Brees is the starter. Vegas likes it on both ends, right? Because if New Orleans is going to throw the ball more and more efficiently, right? Like the more pass attempts there are in a game, the more plays there are in a game, because the clock stops on incomplete passes. It runs when they run. So when you have a quarterback who's going to run it 10, 12 times on top of Latavius Murray runs, on top of Alvin Kamara runs, they're a more run-heavy team. So now they're going to swing back to probably being a more pass-heavy team, especially in this matchup with Kansas City. So Vegas has both teams up. We'll look at the Vegas totals in just a bit. We also got some news just this morning. Julio Jones is out. So now we have the same value that was there last week. We know that Ryan is not as good without Julio Jones as he is with Julio Jones in the lineup this year. He's been bad, right? There's no two ways about it. He has not been good for like over a month. He's had 2 passable games where he scored over 20 points since week 7. The player that doesn't get affected as much is Calvin Ridley. He's got that Q hung by his name. We'll monitor after the Friday practice report comes out. He tends to do fine with or without Julio Jones in the lineup, even though Ryan has struggled. Ridley basically averaging the same fantasy points per game. Gage had a very good game last week, but some of that came on the backs of that passing touchdown that went to Ridley. So yes, at 4,700, he is a value once again, but temper your expectations. He's not like an absolute smash, must play, have to get him in there sort of thing. As I mentioned, we'll take a look at the Vegas lines. We have some interesting things that have changed. First of all, you can look down here. This is the Fantasy Labs Vegas line. This is free. You can go click on the link to Fantasy Labs, smizzle.tv/uppercase labs, LABS with a capital L, or just click the link down below in the description. Just click show more, or if you're on Twitch, !labs in chat. This is a free tool that they have, and you look at this game, and this morning you could see it ticked up in terms of the team total. So it went to 27.5 from 25. So the game total went up a half point this morning after they made that switch, as I kind of referenced. We have a couple other games, obviously, with Stafford's spot here being out. Now they're favored by 11. There was no line at the beginning. And with all the COVID-ness that's happening, we're going to have to monitor. Wide receivers and running backs don't typically change totals. It's more quarterbacks that change totals. But in terms of efficiency and everything like that, those are all the things that you have to monitor, way more than any other week. So let's bring in the chat. I'll get to questions here. Gauging cash at 4,700. I don't know that it's necessary. I don't know that it's a must. You know, I don't think it's a place where you need to go. I think you can, but like if you take a look at all the other running backs that are in that price range, right? So let's look at the 5K running backs and below. So you've got DJ Chark, who is getting a ton of targets, not really averaging more fantasy points per game with Minshew, even though that seems to be the look. I did do a game splits on that for this season, and it's just not that much different in terms of his volume, in terms of everything else. Well, maybe he'll be more efficient. Maybe Minshew will challenge a little bit more. Pittman's kind of been up and down. You know, the volume's been yo-yoing. I don't expect him to get a ton, especially with the emergence or the re-emergence of T.Y. Hilton, who's now bumped up to 5,500 and gets the Texans, who he's torn up over the years. Gage at 47. Again, I like him better than somebody like Sammy Watkins, but like CeeDee Lamb against San Francisco, who is tougher on the outside than they are on the inside, right? They're an armadillo defense, right? Like you don't want to, once you get to the nice gooey middle, and that's where CeeDee Lamb plays, is in the slot, he has an opportunity here against a team that struggles a little bit more against inside receivers than outside. Willie Snead, in case players miss. We don't know really the situation with Baltimore wide receivers. If they clear protocol like Marquise Brown, if Marquise Brown is out, ton of if-then statements this week. If Brown is out, if Boykin is out, then Snead and Duvernay become really good values. If Brown and Boykin are both in, then I like Snead a lot less, because again, you're not going to get an awful lot of work at that price point. So like maybe Gage is one of the best in that price range, but like I'm not thrilled about that price range at all, especially in flex. Like there's a gap in the pricing this week, and that gap is like at 5,100. Let's say it kind of starts here, like where there's some guys up here that like you might be interested in. Like Hawkinson, I think is fine, even with Chase Daniel. I think he's fine. Kiki Kuti against Indy, fine. Kenyon Drake 55, fine. Mark Andrews, like him too. But coming down here to like 51, no, maybe. But if Mostert plays, no. If Mostert's out, then Wilson's the best play in that range. Chark, maybe. Abdullah, no. Pittman, not really. Gesicki, injury and probably no. Latavius, no. Gurley, no. There's like a $500 gap, you know, where we don't really have stuff. So if you're left with like 5,100 or 5,200 in your lineup for the last man in, that's kind of a spot where you don't want to get stuck. So it's just a weird spot this week, and sometimes that happens. Like it just is what it is. Kittle in. I'm expecting Kittle to be out unless something changes. I would assume that he's out, and I have not heard anything to the contrary. If Stafford is out, is it a smart move to disallow bringbacks from Tannehill stacks? Hard to see Detroit players having a good game. Pass catchers, no. I would still allow pass catchers. I would just be more particular about the pass catchers that I want. Even if they're not efficient enough to catch touchdowns, if they throw the ball against a team that is a pass funnel defense, I'm not against having guys that could get 7 to 11 targets. Is there a place to find statistics on how teams play different coverage? Yes. Some of them are off limits and you can't get them. And some of them you just have to pay for. Like Sports Info Solutions, I believe, has that information. Next Gen Stats from NFL has that information. So yeah. Kelsey Adams, the new team, jam it in. Well, Kelsey's not on the slate, but sure. Should you feel naked and afraid for wanting to play Jalen Hurts? No. There are certain quarterbacks that you can play alone in a tournament without worrying about stacking them, and Hurts is one of those guys. If you want to pair him with like Dallas Goedert, I'm fine with that, and Goddard gives you kind of a cheap-ish option. He's sub 4K. Can I dig deeper on wide receiver under 4K? It's too many questions. I don't have answers. There's a bunch. They're all if-thens, except for like Gallup. You know, I'll look at them for you, but like I can't give you definitive answers. So like Mooney, Minnesota gives up a lot of deep passes, but like you're gonna yo-yo on volume, so he's a tournament dart throw to me. Laviska had a ton of targets last week, but now quarterback change, and we haven't seen any real ceiling from Laviska. So if he scores in that range, it's nice, but like I'm not seeing very much chance for 20-point upside there, but he's fine. I think the Jets, and if they score a touchdown, then somebody from this receiving core is going to get it, and Perriman's as good as any of the rest that are in this price range. Bowden Jr. is dependent on Parker being hurt. So if Parker is out, then I like Bowden Jr. more. If Parker is in, I like him less because he's splitting routes and snaps with Grant, who's priced up here, right? Limited participant in Thursday, but we'll see how that goes for the weekend. Again, if there's injuries and there's a path to more snaps for Bowden Jr., then I'm in. Denzel Mims, 3,500, but like a lot of prayer yards there. Michael Gallup, he's the one that I think is going to be the most popular play because he is the one most locked into a role. But assuming that we're going to get 10 plus points out of Michael Gallup is difficult to do, although I do like the volume that he's gotten in this price range. His price should probably be like 41 or 4,200, so at least we can say that he's underpriced versus his expectation. Cam Sims at 3,300, again, yo-yoing volume, might get you 2, might get you 10. They're all kind of if-then just kind of guys, right? Same thing for Duvernay. If all the players are out for the pass catchers are out for Baltimore because of code reasons, they don't get back in by Sunday, then Duvernay becomes a play because he'll run a lot more routes and play a lot more snaps against a really vulnerable defense, but we don't know what that answer is yet. And then what's his name on Philly? Ward. Right? Like, it's a pace-up game. They're going to have a quarterback that runs around. You're not going to get a ton of volume. You're not going to get 10, 11 targets out of him. That's impossible. And he's not going to catch their number one guy because I assume that Rhaegar the Targaryen's going to get him. So, like I said, a lot of question marks. Sub 4K right now. Does this slate lean more towards wide receivers and running backs? No. Love for Uncle Lenny. Okay, so like Jones was dealing with that finger injury already. So there was possibility he was going to be out, and then he's on, on the list as well. So Leonard Fournette at 4,500, assuming no Ronald Jones, is going to be probably the most popular value running back on the slate because the running backs are priced in a difficult place this week where none of them are really projecting for over 2.5 points per dollar. Which leaves us in a weird position because there's good running backs on this slate between the high dollar guys like Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook to I think there's like a plethora of mid-price guys. I think Alvin Kamara now takes a large step forward in terms of predictability and projectability in the passing game with Drew Brees there. I personally think that Kamara and Thomas are going to get 20 targets between them this week in total. Now, whether that means that one's going to get 12 and the other 8, or they're both going to get 10, I don't know yet. But again, this Drew Brees news was brand new, and I think that he's going to focus on basically those two guys. And Brees at 5,900 is a pretty solid, cheap price. Taylor at 72 is solid. Then you got to come way down to like Cam Akers at 66, who I believe will be popular against the Jets with touchdown upside. They allow a lot of red zone drives per game. They allow a lot of yards per drive. And the Rams run the ball in the red zone more than most teams do. But again, you guys know how I feel about Sean McVay, and he might just feel like, you know what? It's Malcolm Brown's half birthday. We have to give him all of the inside the 10 touches. Put in the Malcolm Brown package instead of Akers, who's clearly our best back right now. There's a lot of stuff. You finally able to play Jonathan Taylor in cash. I think he's fine for cash this week. I think Taylor is fine for cash. I think if you want to pay up for one of Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook, I'm fine with that as well. If you want to play team jam him in and go with Henry and Cook, you're going to have to find some value, but I think that you can kind of do it, right? There's plenty of value at tight end every week. We know that there's some options that you can take at wide receiver, and you're going to get a mid-range wide receiver, a cheapish quarterback, a cheap defense. You can certainly fit both of these guys if you want. No, you can fit both of these guys if you want. But I think that lineups are going to be more along the lines of this or more along the lines of this, but certainly along the lines of that, right? So there's maybe 5, 6, 7 running backs that I think are going to be most people or in most people's core, maybe 5 for sure that are going to be in most people's core for cash games. Whether or not they're going to stuff all 3 of them, I don't know yet. Need to watch the Rams COVID. I mean, COVID has us completely on our toes every single week in terms of fantasy, you know, and it changes. You have to be able to be nimble. This is the and I said this at the beginning of the year, 2020 football season for daily fantasy is the most like an NBA season in terms of daily fantasy that we've ever seen. And still we get news 90 minutes before lock on who's playing and who's not, but you still have to be willing to be nimble and change things. Everyone seems to be on Taylor and cash. Isn't Robinson a better cash play due to volume? Taylor's volume has been outstanding recently. You know, over the last 3 games that he has played, Taylor's gotten 22 touches, 16 touches, 26 touches, and now plays Houston, who's one of the 2 or 3 best matchups in the league. Detroit and Houston are the 2 teams we want to stream against. And also, we understand that look, you have to take this into consideration when you play Jonathan Taylor, that his coach is Frank Reich, and he may give him 15 touches. So, like, if anybody has the idea that they're going to jump into my mentions on Twitter or jump back into the replies on Sunday afternoon, if Taylor has one of those games where, like, they decide to put in Nyheim Hines on the goal line, you knew that was part of it when you talked me into Jonathan Taylor. No, I gave you every reason to not play him while also telling you that I think he's a good play. So if you believe any of those things are going to happen, then don't play him. Play who, what does Jordan say? Play whoever you want. I'm just telling you, I think that Taylor's a good play. And I also realize when I say that Frank Reich is his coach. And I kind of feel about Frank Reich the way I feel about Sean McVay in terms of my level of trust for the 2 of them. Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey going to be low played again. So pricey. Yeah, I don't know if you can pull that off. I feel like I want to go with one or the other, but not both. Or go with a cheaper quarterback and use Hill and Kelsey without Mahomes. Right? So let me explain. What are the chances that Mahomes distances himself from the field at quarterback so greatly that he becomes a must play at the position? He had 43 points this week against Baltimore. He had 39 points that week against the Jets. 33 points at 8K, 7,900 is not going to separate you from the field as a quarterback. Not when cheaper quarterbacks, I'm not saying Kirk Cousins this week, I'm just highlighting him, that are 2,000, essentially 2,000 cheaper can put up 30 points. So there are paths to that. Jalen Hurts last week, if he has a similar point production this week and has 23 DraftKings points at 6K and Mahomes has 32, you're probably not chasing. But if Mahomes has 32 points, in the case that he has that sort of game, Tyreek Hill last week, 26 DraftKings points on a week where Patrick Mahomes had 24 DraftKings points. On that same week, Travis Kelce, 30.6 DraftKings points. And if you weight him versus the other tight ends, so like these guys, these two gentlemen here, whether paired or individually, can outpace the field at their position and be that must-have player that, you know, breaks the slate at that position where you must have them. But a quarterback does not often do that because of the narrow band of quarterback scoring that rarely lets them get above 45 DraftKings points and barely ever above 50 DraftKings points. So you could get to them, like you could play Drew Brees at 5,900 and still rationally, from a correlation standpoint, have Kelce or Hill or both. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go with that. Favorite cheap defense? Washington, probably at 2,600. Would I play Breeze in a Kansas City, New Orleans stack or Hurts naked in that stack for the same price? It depends on what you're trying to do with the lineup. See, Breeze is another guy that there's risk involved, and you all know what the risk is, right? Playing Breeze and Breeze stacks, there's risk, right? One is it's his first game back from IR, but they wouldn't play him if he wasn't ready. The other risk, that's the other risk. What if Drew Brees, Kamara's and Michael Thomas is his way all the way down the field? They get to the 7-yard line and they bring in the Taysom Hill go gadget package and he runs a keeper and just slams his face into the end zone. That costs you a touchdown. It costs you an Alvin Kamara rushing touchdown. It costs you a Drew Brees passing touchdown. So any Taysom Hill inside the 10-yard line is your risk when you assume that risk when you roster Drew Brees. You know that's baked into any one of your Drew Brees lineups. So like, don't be shocked if or when that happens. Like people, like every week, like it comes out of nowhere. I didn't even know this was happen. How could this happen? You know it could happen. Same as with Cam Akers, right? This is like, I kind of want to launch this slate into the sun. I really do. Because like Cam Akers is going to be an extremely popular play this week for a lot of really, really good reasons. 50 carries over the last 2 weeks, included in the passing game, even though the Rams for the last 3 years really don't throw the ball all that much to their running backs, but at least he's getting some targets, playing the vast majority of snaps. He's getting the early snaps. So like the plan is for him to get the ball over the last 2 weeks, right? Like he's in on the first drive and they're giving the ball to him a ton on the first drive. They're playing the Jets. Guess what, guys? He's at home. He's favored. Projects for over 20 touches. Should theoretically get all the inside the 5 work as he has the last 3 games. That's $5 running back right there for 6,600. And Sean McVay might just decide that like Malcolm Brown's puppy learned how to sit this week. And so as a result, to reward Malcolm Brown for training his puppy dog very well, or because Henderson, his sister's half birthday, was in the stands, family and friends game for Henderson, he's going to give him the inside the 5. Like, we know that could happen. I don't know if either of those things are true, but he could just on a whim just put in somebody else. Like Cam Akers his way all the way down the field, and then they get inside the 5 after a commercial break. So it's not like he's winded and had to check out. He didn't tap his helmet or nothing. We're just going to go with the, we're going to run a Gerald Everett reverse because it's the most Sean McVay thing ever. Yeah, Malcolm Brown wore some socks to the game that McVay really took a liking to, right? He just decided to give it to him instead of giving it to Cam Akers. Like, yeah, we know there's all those things baked in. Every player has warts. There's a couple players that I don't think have warts. There's a couple players that I honestly don't think have warts on this slate. They give it to the trainer on the sideline instead of Akers. Mullen's going to have some fun at the carnival this week. 5,100 seems like a great price. It is. Do you need him? Top 3 game environments? I mean, New Orleans, Kansas City is one. I like that Houston Indy game. And I like Baltimore. I'm not sure who I'm circling in on. I haven't figured out where I want to go with the Jags yet because they're too healthy. There's too many of them right now. Would playing a Tennessee stack with no Henry have value this week? There's always value in leveraging the passing game, or leveraging, let's say leveraging to a passing game off of the heavily rostered running backs on the week. There will always be value in that. So like taking a look, take a look at whatever site you use and look at who they're projecting to be the highest played players at running back in tournaments. Betcha he's one of them. For very good reason. You know, I think we can safely project that if Tennessee wins this game, and they are projected to win this game as they are favored by 11 points, right? That Derrick Henry should get 25 plus touches, right? I don't think I'm going very far out on a limb when I say that, right? Like here's the limb, here's me, right? I'm not out on a limb when I say I think Derrick Henry should theoretically get 25 plus touches this week. If he gets 25 plus touches, he should get you the 100-yard bonus at minimum. So that's 13 points right there. And then it just comes down to whether or not he finds his way into the end zone. So if he finds his way into the end zone, then he's going to do fine. He'll get you 19 to 30 points. If he gets in the end zone twice, he'll get you 25 plus. Because he should get the 100-yard bonus with that usage if they win. But if he's going to be 30%, there's some games that aren't that great. There's some games where he did this. Had a good game, ran for 5.4 per carry, ran for 103, got you the bonus, 15 points. This game they scored 24 points. He got you 6.8. 35 points in this game. They played Cleveland, got 35 points. Derrick Henry scored 6.9. Not nice. It is always a viable strategy to leverage off of the high played running backs. So the same thing goes for Cam Akers. Yeah, the Jets are terrible. The Rams are favored by a ton. Everybody's going to play the running back because they're going to play from ahead. They're going to win all these sorts of things. And like the running back's going to get all the touchdowns. But like, what if Jared Goff throws for 3 touchdowns against the Jets? Is that out of the realm of possibility that he throws for 3 touchdowns? What if one of those receivers has 2 of them? Kupp or Woods? That's how you separate and win a tournament, because the difference between Akers' projection on percent is going to be a lot higher than that stack's projection. So any running back that you project for a high percent, because nobody's going to play their running backs with their quarterback stacks. Leonard Fournette, if Ronald Jones is out this week, is probably going to be 20 to 30% played. Atlanta has not been bad on defense. And they've been pretty good against running backs too. So if he's going to be that high because of price and because of the lack of value at running back this week, there is no real good value at running back this week. If everybody's going to be on that and you don't like that, just fading him, fine. But if you really want to leverage him, play the passing game. Play a stack. If you think they're going to score their 25 to 35 points, go for that. And again, that's why I love this show as opposed to Best Buy's article, or like, I like writing Best Buy. I don't like writing it. I like having Best Buys. I like doing the quicker shows, like we do for YouTube and everything. But like, or I try and give you a lot of information in like 15 or 20 minutes. But like this show where I can take 45 minutes or an hour and really flesh out a lot of these thoughts is, I think, pretty valuable. So thank you guys every Friday on Twitch for showing up and being a part of the show. Like, you guys, y'all are the co-stars right here. Thank you every Friday for that. And for those of you watching on YouTube, we're 30 minutes into this video. If you're still watching, thank you. Because it allows me to really give you the entire thought process that I have and why I'm making these decisions and how I'm thinking about making tournament lineups. Not because you need to mimic what I do, but because I believe that that is the most helpful thing for you. You know, I think that is the most helpful way for you to start thinking about things differently, and then you'll apply those to your lineup building process, and then you'll make better lineups. If Mostert and Wilson both in, what would you have to hear to think Mostert is good for cash? And I don't think he'd be good for cash. I think he'd be fine for tournaments. I would not want, if both of them are in, I don't want any part of either in cash. Like, Mostert's 5,800. I'd rather play. Look here. Again, I assume that the vomiting is done here, right? Can we assume? I think the vomiting is going to be done. But if I'm going to play that price range, there's your dude. You guys are done throwing up on Kenyon Drake now after he's thrown up these fantasy points last month? We're good with this now? His price hasn't moved. He's still 5,500. For all the reasons that I told you he was a good play here and here and here, he's a good play here because this has not moved from here. And then there's an extra added bonus. Edmonds is dinged. He returned to practice on Friday, but he's been dinged all week. And he's been solid too. I see him popping on everybody's projections this week, and I kind of don't get it. Like, what has changed with Chase Edmonds? He's a 10 touch a game guy who doesn't get the inside the 5 carries. You know? He's not getting like a ton of volume. And Drake's getting all the volume. I don't like this one target. I don't like that, but they were winning big, so they didn't need to throw him the ball. Like, if I'm paying for cash game in that range at running back, right? And again, this is very price specific. So like, do you want Mostert who could get 10 or 12 touches or could get 20? Or do you want the guy that you know is going to get around 20 for a similar price? That's kind of the question you have to ask yourself. So I'm going to go for the guy that I pretty much know is going to get around 20 for the same price. You know? I'd almost prefer CEH at that same price over Mostert for cash if you wanted to go the range. But in this price range, it's probably Drake or Dobbins. And like Dobbins, you know what the warts are. Again, another player with warts, right? But you know what they are at least. But he is the highest snapping running back right now in Baltimore, like 63 to 65% of the time. Best cheap tight end under 3K, it's the non-copyrighted frog, Cole Kmet. 3,000 is not what his price should be. Dobbins and Akers are so close. I don't personally have them close. I have Akers way ahead. Because Dobbins projects to get like 14 touches and Akers could get 24. If Mostert out, standard cash build going to be Henry, Kamara, Jeff Wilson? Probably. But I could see people getting away from that because I think that I'm kind of at the point where I feel that Ayuk's volume, like I've reached that point in the week where Brandon Ayuk's volume with no Kittle and no Debo and a coach that wants to scheme to him is somewhat undeniable at this point for 6,300 in cash, right? He's got, like, over the last 4-5 weeks, he's got something like a 30% market share of targets, and he's competing with nobody. And a coach that is very, very good at scheming to get the ball to the players that he wants to get the ball to. And Mike made a great point this morning on CSS DFS podcast, the Fantasy Focus podcast on ESPN's feed, that, you know, we talk about coach speak, you know, and what it means and why it means something. You remember the game where Richie James in week 9 went nuts on the Island game against Green Bay? That was the game where I think it was late. It was like a Thursday night game, right? So that Thursday, they just found out late that Brandon Ayuk was not going to play. And Shanahan said all those targets that went to Richie James was supposed to be Ayuk. So that week 9 that's not here, that Richie James game for $200 in Showdown was supposed to be Ayuk. So we'd be looking at a whole new game where he got similar usage and service. They basically just, Ayuk missed, they just slid Richie James into that spot and kept the same game plan, just funneled targets to him. So it would have gone to him. So this is basically their number 1 right now with nobody else available. Team's going to be interesting next year. Once they get everybody back healthy with Kittle and Debo and Ayuk, like, that team's trouble offensively. Not for themselves, for everyone else. What's the difference between a cash game build and a tournament build? It's a good question. Cash game, I'm looking more at volume and floor and less at correlation. Tournament, I could care less about floor at spots, and I'm more willing to take chances, because in a cash game, for me to win money, I need about 150 points or more, and I don't get paid more in a 50-50 for coming in first place than in 45th place. That pays the same. So I just got to get into the money. So I'm more concerned with projectable volume of usage, targets, carries, touchdown upside, definitely with end zone targets and inside the 5 carries. Looking for quarterbacks that can do a lot for a little. Looking at quarterbacks that can add rushing floor to their line. Everything's about floor in terms of cash game. Floor, median projection, touchdown expectation. That's what I'm looking at in terms of cash games. Obviously, all of those things are volume, right? That I just explained. Tournaments, I'm trying to do other things, because scoring 155 points in a tournament ain't going to do much for you. It might not even cash, probably won't. If it does, you're going to min cash and less than double your money. Your $10 will turn into 15 or 17. All of the money in tournaments is up top. And in order to do that, you have to take some chances and some risks that other people aren't willing to take. That's why I'm saying in cash, Cam Akers is the play. In cash, Derrick Henry is the play. In tournaments, the game theory play off of those highly played, high floor plays are to go with some lower percentage options that still have access to a ceiling, but their floor is lower than their cash game counterparts, and therefore they will be less played. The chalk is the chalk for a reason. Thank you guys for the subs. Appreciate all the support on the stream today and the follows as well. You guys have been awesome. But that's the difference. Like, people ask me that all the time on YouTube. What's the difference between a cash game and a tournament? It's like, well, that's the difference. Tournament, you only get paid up top. Yeah, there's more lineups at cash, but like, you're not playing a tournament to min cash. You're not playing a tournament. Hey, I played the Millionaire Maker this week and I won $40. Woo! Like, who cares? You're trying to give yourself a chance to win 5, 6, 7 figures. The only way to do that is to take some chances. Fournette the cheapest we can go at running back this week? Currently, yes. As things stand right now, that's about the cheapest you can go. Is a Mullen stack viable with Ayuk? You can. What are the I mean, he's cheap enough. Like, what do you need from him if he gets 21, 22 points? So, like, sure. But it just kind of is what it is. Any McCoy love? Not from me. I'm not sure that they really love him all that much, to be honest with you. Favorite under the radar play this week? Won't know until Sunday morning. Like I said, I'm still at like 30,000 feet. You don't know what the numbers are going to be yet. We don't know where the crowd's going to coalesce. And that's really what you're looking for, is to find out where everybody's going to go and then see what reasonable paths to going a different route there are. Not just making a play because it's, well, nobody's going to be on this play, so I'm going to make that play, right? You're trying to be contrarian, but you're not trying to be stupid. So once we figure out where everybody's going, which we will as soon as we find out who's eligible off the COVID list, which we don't know yet, who is currently on it, which players are out, because we're still learning that with Drew Brees and Julio Jones news coming this morning. It kind of is what it is. They look better with McCoy than Jones. I mean, that's somewhat selective. McCoy didn't have all that many touches. I think that people overvalue running backs. McCoy had 5 touches this week. Like, we're kind of dealing with small sample size theater. Loving Traquan with Brees. See, that'll be different. I think that the interesting Brees stack is going to include Kamara this week. And yes, I understand that, like I've said a million times, it's like a less than 1% chance that a running back, quarterback, and wide receiver have 25 plus DraftKings points. But one of those outliers, right, that encompasses every running back, wide receiver, pass catcher stack. The one of the 3 or 4 multiple outliers is that Brees, Kamara, Michael Thomas stack. And Michael Thomas is also somebody that we need to monitor because of his injury. So, like, there's so many things up in the air right now that I think focusing on the overarching path that you want to take is more important than the individual players at this point. And I think that that's a good thing too, because people tend to get take lock. I like this player on Tuesday, so I have to play him on Sunday. And as I've said, you have to be more willing to pivot this year in daily fantasy than in any other year. Is T.Y. Hilton playable in cash? If you can fit him, how are you going to get up to him? Have I made any videos about single entry versus multi-lineup strategy? No, but this is it. It's much easier to attack the field in a single entry or a 3-max game. You know where people are going to go. Is Trubisky viable this week? Well, I like 2 of his targets. I like Allen Robinson and I like Cole Kmet. So stacking Trubisky is not that far off the reservation. If you think that Kmet can catch a touchdown and Allen Robinson can catch a touchdown, that's 2 touchdowns for Trubisky. If he runs in one, and he has run in touchdowns before, that puts him in definite value range. But there's a lot more low totaled games on this slate than there have been on previous weeks. So, like, again, going back to the team totals, these are Saturday games. They don't really count. 48, 46, 45, 44, 41, 51 and a half, 51. Those are good. 48 and a half, that's pretty good. 44 is exceptionally low considering that most of it's going to come from one team. 52 is good. So, like, focus on volume players in the lower totaled games, players that are going to get a ton of volume because they don't have that very much touchdown upside, or as much touchdown upside as the teams that have a team total that's like a full touchdown higher than them. And focus on game environments and stacking and mini stacks and secondary stacks from the higher expected scoring games. I don't know. I don't even start. So, like, people ask me direct, who are you playing and who are you not playing? I don't start making lineups, guys, until after I get this video published on YouTube on Friday afternoons. And at that, those are my first runs. So I don't really make lineups throughout the week. I try to stay later in the week to making lineups so that I don't get married to players and married to stacks and married to lineups. I kick things around. I talk about things constantly. I write players up that I believe are going to be in my core. but I don't start putting lineups together until late in the week. I'll do things this afternoon after all my videos get published on YouTube. Then I'll take all of Saturday off. And then when the kids go to bed, I'll go through and do a Saturday night look at everything. If there's any changes in news, because that's when the Shefty news dump comes out, and change things then. Upload them to the sites in case there's a problem. And then I'll come back in. I'll do a first run on Sunday morning. Then I work all the way up until inactives come out an hour and a half before lock. Then the next 45 minutes, I'm finalizing everything. And then I go live 45 minutes before lock. So for me, like, I used to make lineups earlier in the week, and I feel like I like my process better when I wait later. One more week to stack Cousins and his 2 wide receivers. Last chance, Kirky. Used to grind content all week. Like you said, you become married to players. It does. You get take lock. It's natural. And you end up twisting yourself up like a pretzel. So for me, I wait. Like, everybody's like, can I play like on Tuesday? Can I play this guy in cash this week? I'm like, dude, it's Tuesday. Lock is like 100 and something hours away. Like 130 hours from lock. I don't know. We'll see. He looks good right now, though. Right? Like, I don't like to give definitive answers ever. Becomes self-hypnosis. You think it early and then convince yourself all week. Yeah. So I try to remain as nimble as possible. And it doesn't always work. Right? And sometimes that early call is still the right call. There's certainly guys that in the Monday first look lineup that I do on DraftKings that are still the best plays on Sunday. Not all of them. And I'm not saying, oh, that lineup, you just need to enter that lineup. No. I'm saying that there are certain plays on Monday in the thinking, because that's before any site comes out with projections. Nobody's got projections out on Monday for the next week's slate. So, like, sometimes that very simple first look thinking is still viable on the weekend. And when it is, it's probably pretty chalky. So it's probably the right cash game play. That was something that somebody else put in the comments on Monday to the DraftKings first look. The response was, wow, why don't you just play all the chalkiest players? I'm like, it's a cash game lineup. You're supposed to play all the chalkiest players. That's the point. It cuts down on tinkering time. Yeah. So you make more definitive. You're like, nope, this is where I am. These are the players that I'm on. This is who I'm jamming into lineups. And these are the secondary stacks that I like around my primary stacks. This is the cash game plays. These are the highest volume guys. This is where I'm at. That's who you get into, and then you go. Alex Smith ruled out. We kind of knew that was a thing. McLaurin projection change with Haskins? No, I assumed that he was going to be the quarterback. Like, all week, I thought Haskins was going to be the quarterback. And so everybody's knee-jerking to Haskins being the quarterback. I can see y'all doing it in chat, but, like, also, Haskins was the quarterback. Haskins was the quarterback. Aren't you worried about Patrick Peterson, Al? Baltimore's got a really good defense, Al. I don't know if I trust Terry McLaurin against them. Like, definitely do it. You know, he can get there. Had some pretty good games. And then these last 2 games with Alex Smith, against San Francisco, tough against perimeter wide receivers, and against Pittsburgh, tough against pretty much everybody in a game that they won. This is a great opportunity to buy the dip on Terry McLaurin. He'll turn over the ball. Yeah, he might. I mean, hopefully they turn into pick sixes. Pick six is great. If you got the passing game that throws the pick sixes are awesome. What you don't want is they drive down the field and then they turn it over and then the other team gets the ball and it makes an 80-yard, 9-minute drive. Like, they pick it off, they go back for a touchdown, and your guy gets the ball back again. That's awesome. Now they're behind. They have to throw more. And they get the ball. You just don't want the other team to have the ball. Throw all the pick sixes. You know who proved that? Jameis last year. Jameis threw all the pick sixes. And then he threw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. McLaurin, I prefer Ayak for cash. I think McLaurin's great for tournaments this week. Ayak's got the higher floor because he should get way more volume. I think the McLaurin gets between 7 and 9 targets, which is pretty much where he has sat for the majority of this year against Seattle in a great matchup. And people are going to be scared, as you guys just proved in chat. And game log watchers are going to come off because he's had 2 duds in a row. Again, that's when you want to get back on the train with great players like Terry McLaurin, is when everybody is exiting. You want to enter. So this is a great time to buy back in at a much lower percentage and try and capture that 20-point upside from a 6.6K guy. David Montgomery's still a good play. He's all right. He's not, I'm not thrilled about him, but I'm not really thrilled about many running backs this week because the pricing is much more difficult. You know, that just kind of is the way that the slate's shaping up based on the pricing. So take a look out for everything. All of my content, this is the last piece of content that I put out on the week. Best Buys is out on ESPN+. CSS DFS is out wherever you download podcasts. It's on the Fantasy Focus feed. All of my YouTube content for the entire week, including the Saturday special, are published on YouTube right now. Discord is a 24/7 thing. Get your butts over there and get in Discord. And I'll be live 45 minutes before lock on Twitch on the Anti-Tinkercast. Links for everything right down below. Look for another video right here.
He's a legend.